AWS plus Terraform plus Kubernetes infrastructure deployment. Hook. You could take a completely new environment, define the infrastructure as code, provision the servers, configure Kubernetes, and have the entire process repeatable without manually building everything from scratch? That is exactly what we're going to look at in this walkthrough. In this video, I'm taking you through an infrastructure deployment using Terraform, AWS, and Kubernetes. We're going to start from the project configuration, prepare the required credentials and security values, initialize Terraform, connect the deployment to AWS, and then watch Terraform build and configure the environment. And there's something important I want you to notice throughout this video. It isn't just about making a Kubernetes cluster work. The bigger idea is infrastructure as code, instead of relying on a long list of commands that somebody has to remember and run manually. We're defining what the environment should look like and allowing Terraform to make that happen. So let's get into it. Starting with the infrastructure project. The thing we're looking at is the infrastructure project itself. This is where the deployment configuration lives. Rather than jumping straight into AWS and clicking through the console, we're starting with the code that describes the environment. That's an important distinction. Code becomes the source of truth for the infrastructure. If I need to rebuild this environment later, I don't want to depend on memory. I want to be able to come back to the project, review the configuration, initialize Terraform, and reproduce the environment. You can see that the project contains the configuration and supporting files needed for the deployment. This is also where I can review the settings before anything is actually provisioned. That's a good habit with infrastructure automation. Don't just run the deployment and hope for the best. Understand what you're asking Terraform to create. We're dealing with cloud infrastructure, networking, servers, and Kubernetes, so a small configuration mistake can become a much bigger problem later. Before provisioning anything, we're going to prepare the environment and make sure the required values are available. SSH access and security key. First things we need is secure access to the infrastructure. The deployment uses SSH to connect to the server that will become part of the Kubernetes environment. This is where the SSH key comes into play. The idea is simple. Instead of relying on a password to administer the server, we use key-based authentication. But there's another security value that this deployment requires. Here we're generating a secure 32-byte key, and this is something I want to emphasize. If you're following along with a deployment like this, don't copy somebody else's secret key. Generate your own. And once it's generated, treat it like a credential. Commit it to a public Git repository. Paste it into a public issue. Don't put it somewhere that anybody can access. The entire point of infrastructure automation is to make the environment more consistent without making the security worse. So we're preparing the access information now, saving the required output, and then we'll move forward with the Terraform deployment. Security first, automation second, both. Terraform initialization. We move into Terraform. This major step is initialization. Terraform needs to prepare the working directory before it can actually manage the infrastructure. When we run the initialization process, Terraform looks at the configuration and prepares the providers and dependencies required by the project. See Terraform going through that process here. This is one of those steps that may look simple, but it's extremely important. Terraform needs to know how to communicate with the infrastructure platform. In this case, AWS is one of the major pieces of the environment. Terraform acts as the automation layer between our configuration and the cloud infrastructure. Our configuration says what we want. Terraform figures out what needs to happen to reach that desired state. And Terraform initialization prepares the tools needed to make that communication possible. You'll also notice that Terraform is resolving provider versions and downloading the required components. Once that finishes successfully, we're ready to move from preparation into actual infrastructure provisioning. Initialization complete. Now things start getting interesting. Connecting Terraform to AWS. Next part of the process is AWS. This is where our infrastructure configuration starts becoming actual cloud infrastructure. Terraform needs access to the AWS environment, and the deployment needs to know which resources it's responsible for managing. This is where you want to be very careful about your AWS account and region. When you're working with infrastructure as code, a simple mistake in the target environment can result in resources being created somewhere you didn't expect. So before running a real deployment, always verify the account, region, permissions, and credentials you're using. Once those pieces are correct, Terraform can start working through the infrastructure definition. The goal here isn't simply to create a server, we're creating the foundation for a larger environment. The compute resources need networking, the servers need secure access, and eventually those servers need to participate in the Kubernetes environment. This is why cloud infrastructure is best thought of as a system rather than a collection of individual resources. Each component has a relationship with the others. Terraform gives us a way to define those relationships and automate the deployment. Now we're ready to provision. Provisioning the infrastructure. Stage Terraform begins creating and configuring the infrastructure. This is where the terminal starts getting busy. You'll see Terraform processing different resources and waiting for them to reach the expected state. The advantages of Terraform is that we don't have to manually repeat every infrastructure step. Instead, Terraform follows the dependency graph. If one resource depends on another resource being available first, Terraform can account for that relationship. That becomes especially useful when you're building an environment with multiple layers. First, you need the underlying infrastructure. Then you need the operating system and access configuration. Then you can start configuring Kubernetes. And finally, you can deploy applications and services on top. The terminal output gives us a running view of what Terraform is doing. This is also why you shouldn't be afraid of reading Terraform output. The terminal is telling you what the automation is actually doing. If something takes time, that's usually because Terraform is waiting for a cloud resource or remote configuration step to complete. So we let the automation do its job and keep an eye on the output. The AWS environment. You can see the AWS side of the deployment. The cloud environment provides the underlying compute resources that our Kubernetes environment needs. This is the infrastructure layer. Kubernetes doesn't magically create the physical or virtual machines underneath it. It has to provide those resources. In this case, AWS is providing that foundation. The deployment then uses automation to configure the machines for their intended purpose. This is a good example of how cloud and Kubernetes fit together. AWS provides the infrastructure, Terraform automates the infrastructure, Kubernetes manages workloads running on top of that infrastructure. Each layer has a different responsibility, and when those layers are automated properly, the entire environment becomes much easier to reproduce. That's one of the reasons infrastructure as code has become so important in modern cloud environments. Instead of saying, I built this server 3 months ago and I think I remember how I configured it, we can say, here's the code that defines the environment. That's a much stronger operational model. Handling deployment messages. We'll notice something interesting in the terminal. Not every message we see during the deployment is necessarily a disaster. There are warnings and messages showing that certain resources or Kubernetes objects already exist. It's actually a useful part of watching a real infrastructure deployment. In a perfect demonstration, everything would succeed on the first attempt, and every command would produce a beautiful green success message. Real infrastructure isn't always like that. Sometimes a resource already exists. Deployment partially completed. Partial automation script checks for something that has already been created. The thing is to understand the difference between a fatal failure and a state that the automation can safely continue from. That's why verification matters. We don't just look at one error message and assume the entire deployment is broken. The actual state of the environment. Is the resource there? Nodes available? expected service running. Terminal output. In infrastructure work, troubleshooting is part of the deployment process. Kubernetes enters the picture. From the infrastructure layer into Kubernetes, this is where the environment starts becoming much more interesting. Underlying machines are being prepared so that they can participate in the Kubernetes environment. The control plane is responsible for managing the cluster. Worker capacity provides somewhere for workloads, and Kubernetes becomes the management layer sitting above the underlying infrastructure. One of the things I like about this approach is that we're not manually configuring every component one command at a time. The deployment automation handles the repetitive work. That gives us consistency. If I need to rebuild the environment tomorrow, I don't want a completely different result because I forgot one command. The same configuration to produce the same basic architecture. The value of infrastructure as code. It's not simply about saving a few minutes. It's about creating an environment that can be understood, reviewed, repeated, and changed in a controlled way. Checking the cluster. Now we're getting into verification. Once the deployment has progressed far enough, we can start checking the Kubernetes environment itself. The first thing we want to know is simple. Is Kubernetes actually responding? Then we want to know whether the expected nodes are available. These checks are important because successful Terraform execution doesn't automatically mean the application platform is healthy. Terraform can successfully create a server while something inside that server is still misconfigured, so we verify at multiple levels. First, the cloud infrastructure, then the server, then Kubernetes, and eventually the workloads running on Kubernetes. Think of it as checking the stack from the bottom up. If the infrastructure layer isn't working, Kubernetes can't work properly. If Kubernetes isn't working, the applications on top of it aren't going to work either. That's why good infrastructure engineers don't stop at Terraform finished. They verify the actual desired state. Infrastructure, cluster, workloads. That's the chain we're checking. Kubernetes resources and Rancher components. As the deployment continues, we can see Kubernetes resources being created and configured. The automation is also working through the components required by the environment. This is where the deployment starts looking much more like a real platform rather than simply a collection of servers. Kubernetes resources can include namespaces, services, deployments, and other objects that define how the platform operates. The important thing is that these resources are being created through automation. That gives us a consistent deployment process. It also means that when something changes, we can go back to the configuration and understand what is supposed to exist. This is especially useful for cloud-native environments where the infrastructure and application layers can become complicated very quickly. The more components you have, the more important it becomes to have a reliable source of truth. And that's exactly what we're building here. We're moving from raw infrastructure to an actual managed platform, watching Terraform reach the desired state. At this point, Terraform is continuing to wait for resources and configuration steps to finish. This is where patience becomes part of infrastructure engineering. Some resources are created almost instantly. Others take time. Terraform may be waiting for a server to become available, for a Kubernetes resource to become ready, or for a remote command to complete. The important thing is that we don't interrupt the process just because the terminal hasn't changed for a few seconds. Instead, we watch the output and look for state changes. Eventually, we want Terraform to reach the desired state defined by our configuration. When that happens, the deployment has moved from creating things to environment is ready. And that's the goal. Not just creating resources, creating the state that we actually want. Why this architecture matters. So let's step back for a moment. What did we actually accomplish? We started with infrastructure code. We prepared secure access. We initialized Terraform. We connected the deployment to AWS. We provisioned the underlying infrastructure. Then we moved into Kubernetes configuration and began verifying the resulting cluster. This is a practical example of the cloud-native approach. Infrastructure becomes code. Configuration becomes repeatable. Kubernetes becomes the platform for workloads. and automation connects the pieces together. For someone learning cloud or DevOps, this is an important concept to understand. You don't have to memorize hundreds of commands. You need to understand what each layer is responsible for and how those layers interact. Once you understand that, the commands become much easier to learn. Closing in CTA, and that's the infrastructure deployment walkthrough. We started with a Terraform-based configuration and worked our way through AWS, provisioning, server access, Kubernetes configuration, and cluster verification. The biggest takeaway isn't one specific Terraform command, it's the idea of infrastructure as code. When your infrastructure is defined in code, you can review it, version it, automate it, reproduce it, and improve it. And when you combine that with Kubernetes and cloud infrastructure, you have the foundation for a much more scalable and manageable environment. If you're learning Kubernetes, Terraform, AWS, or cloud security, this is the kind of hands-on workflow worth practicing. And if you found this walkthrough useful, subscribe to Tech Shorts. Here we break down cloud, Kubernetes, DevOps, AI, and cyber